Nastia's friend, Katya, entered her office and immediately noticed something different about her. Concerned, Katya asked, "Nastia, why aren't you wearing a smile?" The two girls had been friends and colleagues for 5 years, having met at work. Nastia hesitated, but eventually decided to share her troubles with her friend. She looked down, wiping away a tear from her cheek, gathering the courage to reveal what had been going on in her family. "It's my husband. He cheated on me," Nastia finally admitted, her voice filled with pain and bitterness. Katya was shocked, exclaiming, "Oh my God! How could he? What a despicable person!" Nastia continued, explaining that her husband had been having an affair for 6 months, keeping it a secret from her all along. She realized that while she had thought everything was fine between them, there was another woman occupying his thoughts. In her eyes, Katya noticed a mixture of sadness and something else. 6 months? That's unbelievable. What are you going to do? Katya inquired, genuinely concerned for her friend. Nastia sighed, admitting that she hadn't yet made a decision. The thought of forgiving her husband was difficult to comprehend, but the idea of leaving him was equally daunting. The couple had been married for 8 years and had 2 young sons who had just started school. Nastia couldn't bear the thought of depriving them of a father. Nastia and her husband, Mikhail, had twins named Pasha and Sasha. The boys had recently started their first year of school, with Misha proudly standing beside them on their first day. Back then, everything seemed perfect. Now, Nastia realized that even on that day, her husband's thoughts were occupied by another woman, though she had been oblivious at the time. Nastia was aware of Katya's strong stance against cheaters, so she didn't expect her support on this matter. After all, Katya had divorced her first husband for the same reason. "Nastia, children are not everything. How do you envision your future with him? Do you think he'll leave her? He'll lie and see her again?" Katya persisted. "He won't. I know he won't," Nastia replied confidently. "How can you possibly know that?" "Nastia, please listen to me," Katya began, but Nastia cut her off. "She passed away 3 days ago," Nastia revealed. Katya's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? I hope it's not?" "Nonsense. Of course, I wouldn't have done anything to her." Although Nastia hesitated. "Although what?" "Nastia, just tell me the whole truth," Katya urged. Anyway, the other day Misha left for work and forgot his phone. As I was leaving the house, I remembered our plans for the evening and decided to confirm if everything was still on. I dialed his number and heard his phone ringing. In that moment, something came over me. My hands shook. It was like I was being compelled to pick it up. "And you gained access. What did you find inside?" I discovered a series of text messages. They had been messaging each other for a long time. They were even in a romantic relationship and worked together. That's probably how they initially connected. As I read their messages, tears streamed down my face and I felt deeply hurt and offended. In a fit of anger, I decided to confront her from his phone. "What did you say to her?" Katya asked anxiously. I wished her dead, calling her a despicable person. Wow, although it is not entirely surprising. You know what's even more surprising? Misha came home from work that day looking as pale as a ghost. When I asked him what happened, he told me that a colleague had passed away. This Alvaro was actually hit by a car. It happened just 30 minutes after I sent that text. And now you believe it's your fault? That's absurd. It may be a coincidence. Unfortunate? Yes. Strange? Yes. But it is definitely not your fault. I hope you're right, but deep down, something unsettles me. Of course there is. Your husband betrayed you for 6 months. Who would be okay with that? What did you say to him? He saw the message on my phone. He realized I had found out. He apologized extensively. He claimed he didn't know how it all happened. He promised he wouldn't leave me and the kids, saying he loved us. And you believed him? Katya, it was difficult not to. Why would he lie then? Well, perhaps he ran out of options. Her friend's voice turned icy and slightly menacing, but perhaps she had a point. Or did she? Nastya came to the realization that she needed to start thinking for herself and not rely so much on the advice of others. However, sharing her misfortune with someone did provide a small sense of relief. Keeping it all inside was becoming increasingly difficult. "I don't think so, but the whole situation is really unsettling," Nastya expressed, feeling uneasy. "He attended her funeral yesterday." Katya questioned, "And you let him go?" Nastya replied helplessly, "What could I do? Everyone from their office was there. When he returned, he looked so empty. I felt sorry for him. I'm freaking out. I'm trying to figure out what to do next, but my thoughts are all jumbled." Katya took charge and commanded, "Get up." Moving closer to her friend, she pulled Nastya up from the chair and enveloped her in a tight hug. Both of them found a little solace in the embrace. They stayed like that for a while before heading to the dining room. That was the reason Katya had come to pick up Nastya for lunch. During the meal, silence dominated as each of them wrestled with different thoughts. Nastya was struggling to decide if she was ready to forgive her husband for his mistake. Deep down, she felt that Misha still loved her, but that wasn't the most significant factor. Nastya knew that her sons adored their daddy. They were just boys after all. How could she take their father away from them? Yes, he made a mistake, yes, he faltered, but is that uncommon? Nastya pondered aloud, unaware that she had voiced her thoughts. This idea had never crossed her mind before, but was it possible? They had shared their souls and dreams. So many good things had happened between them over the years. Nastya had never considered the possibility that her husband could be interested in another woman. It was completely out of character for him. "What? Bewitched?" Katya exclaimed, taken aback by Nastya's sudden outburst. Nastya blushed, realizing she had accidentally voiced her thoughts aloud. "Yeah, but I actually believe in things like that. Maybe we should check," Nastya suggested, glancing at Katya with a hint of fear in her eyes. And Katya raised an eyebrow, intrigued by the idea. "How should we go about it then?" Nastya's face lit up as an idea struck her. "Remember Aunt Praskovia? She's the one everyone calls that. She works on the second floor. I mentioned her to you before. She's an excellent card reader. We could ask her anything we want. What do you think?" Nope filled Nastya's eyes, not only wanting insight into the supposed hex, but also seeking guidance on the future of their family. Should she forgive her husband's transgressions or leave? Or perhaps she should kick him out for his audacity. Let's go, Nastya declared, pushing her plate away as her appetite vanished. And Katya was taken aback by her friend's sudden determination, but seeing her earnestness, she agreed. They swiftly cleared the table and made their way to the elevator. Descending to the second floor, they headed towards Aunt Praskovia's office. She had started the job only 6 months ago, and the building housed various companies. It seemed that Aunt Praskovia had a talent for making new friends because rumors about her spread quickly. Nastya, however, had yet to meet her. Now, it was finally her turn to uncover the truth. After a long search, they found the correct office, though its doors were closed. Nastya knocked confidently and heard a voice from inside saying, "Come in." As she entered, she noticed that the room was dark, the blinds were closed, and the lights were off. Only a faint glow illuminated the space from the open window, allowing some fresh air to circulate. Aunt Praskovia, dressed in a vibrant and unconventional office attire, sat leaning back in her chair. She wore a scarf on her head, not like a traditional grandmother, but more like a fashionable lady. Her appearance was striking, with her red lipstick, colorful beads, and thick-heeled shoes. Nastya couldn't help but wonder who had allowed her to dress that way for work. "Is that Aunt Praskovia?" Nastya asked, slightly taken aback. "You can just call her Baba Pasha," the woman replied, appearing to be around 50 years old. However, calling her by that name didn't seem quite fitting. "I'm just joking, girl," said the fortune teller, noticing Nastya's reaction. Aunt Praskovia is a better name for me. Hello, I heard that you read tarot cards. Can you give me a fortune-telling? Nastya inquired. It seems you have some questions, Aunt Praskovia observed. Yes, I do. Can you help me? First, let's turn on the lights. Lunch break is almost over, and I've been resting for a while, Aunt Praskovia said. Katya switched on the lights, and the office instantly felt more familiar, losing its previously intimidating charm. Please have a seat, my dear. Tell me what happened, Aunt Praskovia said with a comforting tone. I thought you were going to tell me yourself. Nastya responded, surprised. I may be a fortune teller, but I'm not a mind reader. Please, tell me what troubles you, and then we can consult the cards, Aunt Praskovia explained. Feeling mischievous, Nastya decided to omit the hex and only mentioned her husband's infidelity and the demise of his lover. Aunt Praskovia listened intently, her head shaking as she processed the information. She then took her tarot deck, carefully shuffled the cards, and began laying them out. But your husband is not to blame, Aunt Praskovia confidently declared. Confused, Nastya asked, What do you mean? That woman bewitched him. I can see it through the cards. You are not accountable for her death. It was destined to happen. It had nothing to do with you, Aunt Praskovia assured her. Curious about her future with her husband, Nastya eagerly inquired, What about my husband? Will we stay together? Once again, Aunt Praskovia spread the cards and looked at Nastya. Leading in mysteriously, she said, Now, everything depends on you, my dear. You hold the power to dispel the spell. Puzzled, Nastya asked, How can I do that? You must forgive your husband and love him wholeheartedly. Love him with every fiber of your being. That's the only way to rid him of the evil, Aunt Praskovia explained. Anxiety creeping in, Nastya questioned, And if I can't? Then, I'm afraid he will meet his demise within a year. I am a third-generation fortune teller, and I won't deceive you. The choice is yours, whether your husband lives or perishes, Aunt Praskovia warned solemnly. Now you know your options. It is up to you to make the decision. Nastya placed 1,000 rubles on Aunt Praskovia's table, took her friend's hand, and both left the mysterious fortune teller's office, deep in thought. Katya observed Nastya with apprehension, silently questioning her next move. Nastya, burdened with indecision, pondered the situation throughout the day. Upon returning home, she discovered Misha and the children waiting eagerly for her. They all joined forces to prepare dinner, with Mikhail leading the culinary effort while their sons diligently scribbled away in their notebooks under their father's watchful eye. Witnessing this heartwarming scene, Nastya realized she couldn't bear the thought of robbing her children of their father, nor did she want Misha to suffer the consequences of his actions. After the kids went to bed, the couple sat down together, earnestly discussing their tumultuous journey, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. Ultimately, they made a pact to never revisit the past, resolving to move forward hand in hand. Nastya found it within herself to muster the strength to forgive, promising to rebuild their damaged trust. Meanwhile, Misha vowed never to betray her again, sealing their promises with renewed affection on their marital bed. The following morning, they awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face life's challenges as a united front. As time passed, their family dynamics improved, their bond growing stronger than ever. Nastya genuinely forgave her husband and discovered an even deeper love for him. Katya, though disapproving of Misha's actions, stood witness to their journey, understanding the reasons behind Nastya's decision. One eventful day, as Katya rode the elevator to a business meeting, she encountered Aunt Praskovia. Hello, she greeted cheerfully. Good day to you too, replied Grandma Pasha. Do you remember me? Katya inquired. Yes, you were the one who accompanied your friend, the one whose husband betrayed her, recalled Aunt Praskovia. Yes, she is incredibly grateful to you, by the way. It's evident that you possess an inherent talent for foreseeing destiny. Your guidance has made an immense difference in her life." Aunt Praskovia grinned and gently grasped the girl's hand. "You see, my dear, I have a bit of reputation as a master of deception. But I must confess, it's all a load of nonsense. I only shared this with you because, well, I've been let go once again, and I won't be around much longer." Confused, Katya exclaimed, "What? How can that be? You discovered the truth about the hex, and Nastya never mentioned a word." With a knowing nod, Aunt Praskovia explained, "When a woman discovers her husband's infidelity, it's common for thoughts of curses and spells to cross her mind. And when someone else confirms those doubts, well, it's like day and night. It becomes a pattern, and many women are quick to believe it." Perplexed, Katya questioned, "Then why did you encourage her to forgive her husband?" Aunt Praskovia replied with conviction, "Why break apart a good family due to a man's foolishness? They have 2 children. Let them live. A woman's love has the power to heal any wounds. If this Misha isn't a complete fool, he won't stray again. Or, at the very least, he'll learn to be more discreet. Nastya loves him. Let them be together. Do you pity him?" Katya retorted, "So he gets away with it?" Shrugging her shoulders, Aunt Praskovia mused, "Who knows? He might have suffered enough. Imagine if his wife had left him and the other woman had died. How could he not have turned to drink? Perhaps he might have even ended up losing his life. But as it stands, everyone is alive and content." Appalled, Katya exclaimed, "You're manipulating people's lives." Aunt Praskovia sighed. "What did you expect? For me to tell your friend that her husband is a scoundrel who can't be redeemed, and then what? She would be devastated, drowning her sorrows in food and drink. Either she would become unattractive and unwanted, or she would drink herself to death. Is that what you prefer? Besides, the other woman, the one who betrayed her, is already dead. So where's the sense in leaving her husband?" Katya shook her head in disbelief. "You're toying with people's fates. I don't engage in playing games. I help mend relationships within families. My mother and grandmother before me have done the same. But why would you do that?" "Why, I have a small salary, and this way I can earn an extra 10 or 15,000. Is that so wrong? It's just money. Aren't you ashamed?" "Why should I be ashamed? If your friend Nastya truly wanted to leave her husband, she wouldn't have come to me. She needed a reason to stay with him, and I provided one. Is she unhappy now?" "No, she and her husband have reconciled. They are doing well. So I did something wrong." "Of course you did. It was a lie. Why did you share this with me?" "I told you because I was fired." "How could I stay silent now? Nastya wanted to save her husband's life. That's why she stayed. If she had a choice. She stayed with him because she still loves him, regardless of everything. Can't you understand? If she had fallen out of love, she wouldn't be afraid of losing her life. But she doesn't know that. How could I not tell her?" Katya protested. "That's your predicament." Aunt Praskovia replied with a smile. "Let me tell you something certain. If you tell your friend, you will ruin her family. She will start struggling again. If you keep silent, then no one will be at fault. Well, happy holidays." The woman waved her hand as she left the office, leaving Katya standing there with her mouth agape. It just so happened that on that very day, Nastya and Misha were celebrating their wedding anniversary, and Katya had promised to attend their celebration. They had planned a small banquet with close friends, but now Katya hesitated about whether or not she should go. She was afraid of saying something that could ruin the mood. A couple of hours later, Nastya called her friend to remind her of the commitment. "Katusha, I'm calling to remind you. You'll be there, won't you?" Nastya asked. "I will, of course," Katya replied, though her enthusiasm was somewhat lacking. When Katya arrived at the party, she saw a blissful couple. Misha gazed at Nastya with adoration, while she returned his affection with tenderness and love. Their children played joyfully near the beautifully set table. Witnessing all this happiness, Katia lost the urge to reveal what she had learned from Aunt Praskovia to her friend. After all, everything seemed fine between Nastya and Misha. Let things remain that way, and besides, no one truly knows what the future may hold.